History is full of weird and wild things that most people go their entire lives without reading about. Stories about cat-related military operations or entire wars fought over pigs and emu. Here are 10 strange yet true historical events that are stranger than fiction. 10. Operation Cat Drop. For the vast majority of people, cats are friends and family. But for the Royal Air Force military, cats are a weapon to protect billions of dollars in damage. Malaria was a pretty serious issue in the 1950s, prompting the World Health Organization to take action against it in affected areas. The WHO used DDT in Borneo to combat the rampant mosquito population, which was effective at first, but quickly led to serious issues like wiping out animals like wasps and geckos and poisoning the wild food supply for the cat population. With fewer cats around, rats surged in population. To combat this, they initiated Operation Cat Drop. Cats were put into crates and parachuted into Sarawak, Borneo, which completely replenished the cat population and led to a huge decrease in rats. By all accounts, it was a success, though the exact method of it hasn't been done again for obvious reasons. 9. The Pig War. Wars are always being fought over a multitude of things. Some reasons for war are stranger than others, like the infamous Pig War of 1859, which was fought between Great Britain and the United States. It all began with the 1846 Oregon Treaty, which was supposed to give one of the nations control over the San Juan Islands for both military strategy and resource opportunity. However, ambiguous wording gave the US and UK ownership over them, leading to heated conflict. This tension erupted when a pig from the British company Hudson Bay Farm was shot by Lyman Cutler, an American settler, igniting the Great Pig War. The strangest thing about this conflict was that there weren't any casualties or any open conflict. For the next 12 years, it was mostly a peaceful standoff that culminated with international arbitration deciding to give the United States full control of the islands in 1872. Though the war was mostly a strange occurrence, it went down in history as an example of small events triggering large disputes. 8. Operation Paul Bunyan. Most of us will be familiar with the American folklore icon Paul Bunyan, a massive lumberjack known for his legendary strength that created landmarks like the Great Lakes and the Grand Canyon in Western mythology. Little do people know that there's a military operation named after him called Operation Paul Bunyan, which involved the United States and North Korea. Back in 1976, the Korean Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, was the center stage for what almost led to full-scale nuclear warfare between the two nations. A poplar tree was obstructing sight lines between checkpoints for the United Nations Command. This prompted them to send personnel to chop the tree down. This ended badly, however, as North Korean forces attacked and killed Captain Arthur Boniface and First Lieutenant Mark Barrett, prompting Operation Paul Bunyan. A huge, heavily armed air and ground convoy of US forces was sent in to make sure the tree was cut down properly, this time succeeding without a hitch. The whole thing went down in history as the axe murder incident. When people hear the words Kentucky and meat, they usually think of fried chicken, right? But, on one really unlucky and honestly pretty gross day back in 1876, the people of Kentucky experienced one of history's weirdest events, the Kentucky Meat Shower. It all started on March 3, 1876, in Olympia Springs of Bath County, Kentucky. Out of nowhere, an apocalyptic amount of meat chunks of all different sizes just fell from the sky, covering a huge area about 100 by 50 yards. Now, there isn't any single explanation that everyone agrees on, but the most likely theory is that these meat pieces were actually vomited up by a large flock of vultures flying overhead. That kinda makes sense, since vultures are known to vomit their food when they feel threatened, and it matches how the meat was scattered. But hey, a way more fun idea is that maybe the god of meat was just, like, super angry at Kentucky that morning. Normally, when a new pope is chosen, he stays pope for life, or until he resigns, and then the search for a new one begins. But in 1978, something really odd happened. Pope Paul VI died on August 6, 1978, which led to the election of Cardinal Albino Luciani as the new pope on August 26. You'd think he'd be around for a while, right? Nope. He actually passed away on September 28th, just over a month later. So with two popes dying almost back to back, the Catholic Church was in a bit of chaos and needed a new leader, fast. On October 16, 1978, John Paul II was elected Pope, and thankfully, he stuck around for much longer. He was also the first non-Italian Pope in more than 455 years. This whole thing hasn't happened again, and honestly, it might never happen, but it's definitely one for the history books. By the way, if there's any topic in this video that catches your eye, just comment down below and let me know if you want me to make a separate video on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Los Angeles, California? Yeah, it's famous for movie stars surfing, and well, some of the weirdest stories in any American city. You probably wouldn't expect a battle, or at least the threat of one, to go down in Hollywood, but that's exactly what happened right after Pearl Harbor was bombed. It was February 25th, 1942, and Americans were on edge after the attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese military. Then, things got even more intense. An air raid alert sounded at about 2 o'clock in the morning. The US military's radar picked up an unidentified object about 120 miles west of Los Angeles. For the next couple of hours, the city was swarmed with heavy weaponry and armed troops, all ready to defend LA. More than 1,400 anti-aircraft shells were fired into the sky. With all the spotlights searching for the object, it was, honestly, total chaos. So much so that there were tons of traffic accidents and even 5 casualties. In the end, it turned out to be a false alarm, and the object was probably just a harmless weather balloon. Or was it? One of the creepiest stories from history happened during a super weird summer in Pascagoula, Mississippi. The year was 1942 and World War II was raging on. People in Pascagoula started reporting that a man was sneaking into their homes at night, not to steal valuables, but to cut off locks of hair from different women. Edna Marie Heidel and Mary Evelyn Briggs were the first to experience this in June 1942. Before long, tons of women reported missing hair, and one couple was even attacked by the suspected intruder. The town had had enough. By August, the local police arrested a 57-year-old chemist named William A. Dolan, who they believed was the infamous Phantom Barber. He was tried and convicted of murder and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Even though he denied everything, the strange incidents pretty much stopped after he was locked up. Everyone hates long flights, that's just the truth of life. But nobody had a worse long flight than those flying Australian airline Qantas in July 1943. The fall of Singapore in 1942 severely damaged most of the flight routes from Australia to England, which was bad news for both businesses and civilians. Qantas decided to reconnect these two countries with an inaugural flight from Crawley to the Royal Air Force in Lake Kogola. The problem is that there's a lot of air distance to cover, meaning that the flight took 33 hours to complete. It was dubbed the Double Sunrise Flight Service because passengers could see 2 sunrises over the course of 3,580 nautical miles. The flight had to be done in secrecy due to the ongoing war efforts, and only about 3 passengers and essential mail were carried per flight to maximize fuel usage. These flights are still the longest commercial flights in international history. On the small remote islands of West Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia, lies one of the tallest volcanoes in the world, Mount Tambora. Although it is currently dormant, it was responsible for one of the most catastrophic eruptions in human history. On April 5, 1815, Mount Tambora exploded and sent over 36 cubic miles of volcanic ash and gas straight into the atmosphere. An Australian-sized aerosol cloud blocked out so much sunlight, leading to 1816's Year Without Summer. The aftermath was felt worldwide. Northeastern states in America, such as New York, Maine, and Massachusetts, suffered from ruined crops due to the bitter frost in spring. Ireland and India also suffered from ruined crops, disease pandemics, and civic chaos that took years to resolve. To date, it remains one of the most horrifying environmental disasters. The Byzantine Empire was one of the most powerful and influential civilizations in history. They played a major role in both spreading Christianity and keeping many Roman and Greek cultural traditions alive. Despite their power, a simple sporting riot almost destroyed the capital city of Constantinople. Chariot racing was fairly important to the Byzantine Empire, and 2 major chariot racing factions of the day, Blues and the Greens, had an intense rivalry that exploded into a full-on clash in AD 532. The Nika riots were started by disagreements with Emperor Justinian's politics and race-related disputes, leading to a large-scale razing of most of Constantinople. So many landmarks, like the Hagia Sophia, were destroyed, and over 30,000 people died. The riots were eventually quelled when Emperor Justinian deployed thousands of imperial troops to restore peace. Wow, you guys have made it till the end of the video. And remember, according to YouTube, the best way to help the channel in the algorithm is to watch another one of my videos right after this one. So go ahead and check it out. Thanks for sticking around. See you soon. Until then, peace.